So, good morning, all of you. Am I audible, online students? Okay. So, I think today we are going to start with a new topic that is on dynamic programming. Now, as the name suggests, if you there are two words basically which are involved, that is dynamic and programming. But before we understand those two words, let us quickly review what are the designing approach which you have gone through till now. First of them was the divide and conquer. Now this is an approach in which basically we divide a problem into sub problems, right? So let's say if you are using for merge sort, so what we are doing in merge sort, we are actually dividing the array into two parts. Similarly, if you are going for the binary search, then in binary search also we have been given that you are supposed to find something inside the whole array. So first we find the midpoint and then again we divide that into the two parts, and depending on the value of the key, either we will be looking into the left part or the right part. So basically any of the divide and conquer approach works in this way only. Not necessary every time it divides into two parts only. It depends on the problem, it depends on the method of solution. But the general method is that you will be given a problem, you divide it into sub problem, and you solve the sub problem individually, and then you combine the results of all the sub problems to get the final result. So that is what we do in the divide and conquer approach, either by dividing in two parts or dividing in multiple parts, right? uh, Second technique which we have discussed was the greedy algorithm, in which basically it is used for optimization algorithm. So here we are not actually dividing anything. Instead of that, we are incrementally building the solution. Incrementally means that at every instance you will be adding something into the solution, like merge sort. At every instance you will add one. Uh, minimum spanning tree, for example. At every instance you will be adding one edge into the spanning tree. So that is a greedy approach. Now basically both of these approaches are different, they are independent, and they are applicable to their case of problem statement. But dynamic programming is something different than both of this. So we are actually entering into the new paradigm. Now, the basic principle behind this is this quote: "Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it." So basically, what it says that this technique tries to remember the past by some mechanism. That mechanism we will understand, but unlike greedy algorithm, where we actually do not consider the past outcomes, we only focus on the present situation. It was invented in 1957. When I say it was invented, means this approach was first introduced. Obviously, first time it will be a single problem solution, but later on it is found that it can be converted into a dedicated approach by which you can solve not just a one problem, but instead you can solve multiple problems as well. So in 1957, actually Richard Bellman, that shortest path algorithm was the case. So Bellman Ford, that was the problem statement. That again, it was a shortest path algorithm only, and for that, this approach was used as a solution to solve that shortest path algorithm. Let us go through the dynamics of this particular approach. Basically, there are two words. One is called dynamic, and second is called programming. So the meanings are self-explanatory. What is dynamic? Dynamic is something which changes with time, which is not static, which is not predictable, something like that. So these are the different meanings you can say. Programming means planning or method of solving or approaching, whatever you can say. So basically, it is a technique which is based on the dynamism. Dynamic means it is a runtime kind of a technique which depends or depending on the problem instance, depending on the current state of the system, the outcome may change. So that is what it means. The classical example for understanding this static and dynamic is these radio programs. In case of if you are hearing that 101.1, then Bhule Bisle Geet is one of the program which actually keeps on playing some old songs where listeners are not involved, right? जो भी आपको सुनाई देता मतलब जो भी आपको वहाँ पे आएगा वही आपको सुनना है. But in that case, another program is आपकी फरमाइश, where actually listeners are involved, that they will be asking you what you want to hear. So that is basically a dynamic kind of a system where actually the instance are involved in the method of solution. So there are various applications: bioinformatics, control theory, information theory, operation research, computer science, and artificial intelligence. These are the different domains where this method of solution is useful. Bioinformatics means all the medical science where actually they are solving some sort of finding similarity, or let's say there is a cell and there is a disease. So what is the correlation between the pattern in the cell and the disease? So for that types of problem, this technique can be used. Control theory, in any of the manufacturing process or any of the system where actually you require a control of operation, or you require operations in controlled manner. So at that time you require this sort of technique. Information theory means or your information retrieval based approach or data science, etc. Operation research, again this is the research in the domain of manufacturing where this is applicable. Computer science and artificial intelligence. So these are the domains where actually this technique is useful. There may be other as well. These are not the only domain where this technique is used. It is based on principle of optimality. So this is the fundamental basic theory behind the approach dynamic programming. Similar to what we have in greedy, we have greedy choice property. Any problem which has greedy choice property can be solved using greedy. Similarly here, any problem which has this property, principle of optimality, can be solved using dynamic programming technique. We will discuss this principle later. So let us now try to understand what is the approach. See, there are two types of approach for solving any problem statement. One is called top-down approach, second is called bottom-up approach. We will discuss that by the example. Okay. So this is a very simple algorithm where we are actually calculating Fibonacci of recursion. Sorry, we are actually calculating Fibonacci numbers by using recursion. Now, what is Fibonacci of n? What is Fibonacci series? It's an addition of previous two numbers, right? So if I say I want to compute Fibonacci of n, then basically it's an addition of Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2. These are the two previous numbers. So we are doing the same thing over here. To compute Fibonacci of n, we are actually calling another instance with n minus 1 and another instance with n minus 2. Then we are making an addition. That will be the result of this. So that we are returning. But as we have in any recursive program, you must have some terminating condition. So what is that terminating condition? When your n value is less than 2. Because Fibonacci of 0 is 0. Fibonacci of 1 is 1. Fibonacci of 2 is 1 plus 0. So that means from 2 only we are applying this equation. That Fibonacci of n is equal to Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus n minus 2. till 2, till number 2, we are not following that equation. So basically, Fibonacci of 0 and Fibonacci of 1 are base condition. So we are excluding that in this algorithm. So that's why this algorithm, which is actually computing Fibonacci numbers of n Fibonacci numbers, it returns n when your n is less than 2. Why it is returning n? Because when you are calling Fibonacci 0, what is Fibonacci 0? 0. That means 0 you are passing, 0 you are returning. Fibonacci of 1, 1. So you are passing 1, you are returning 1. So that's why it's return n. Okay. Fine. This sounds very simple, very clean and neat approach. But if you compute the time complexity of this approach, and this is how it looks like. Recurrence relation ચાલુ થયું ક્લાસમાં ડિવાઇડ એન્ડ કોન્કર માં recurrence ચાલુ થઈ ગયું તો બહુ થઈ ગયું થયું ચાલુ નથી થયું શું કરાયું more short ચાલે છે recurrence method of recurrence binary tree tree recursion master method AU okay so basically in any recursive program whenever you are using recursion you always can build this kind of a recurrence relation okay so what this recurrence relation means it means that the relationship between a parent instance and its child instance. What do we mean by parent and child? In this case, when you are calling Fibonacci of n, that is your parent instance. What is that Fibonacci of n is making call to? It is making a call to n minus 1 and n minus 2, right? If you are calling for the merge sort, then merge sort is making a call from left to right. Then it is making two another calls from left to mid plus left to mid and mid plus 1 to right. So depending on the method of algorithm, depending on the approach which is used in the algorithm, always any recursive function will make a call to its another recursive instances. You can always show this relationship and that is can be shown by using this equation which is called recurrence relation. So in this case, what this T of n is doing, it is basically calling what? N minus 1 and n minus 2. And if I compute the time required, so if I want to compute the time required to compute n, is actually time required to compute n minus 1 plus time required to compute n minus 2. Is that clear? So it means that if I want to compute the time complexity of this algorithm, then I first have to find out this equation. To find out the time complexity of any recursive function or recursive approach or recursive algorithm, you always need to find out this first. You cannot go for the step count approach because you don't know the time complexity of this. Step count कब काम आता है? When you actually know that what is the time complexity, you know that n is less than 2, step count is 1. Return n, step count is 1. If you have for loop, then you know that this will be executing n times. So the step count is n. Here you don't know what is the step count here either. Because it is again calling the same thing. जिसके लिए आप compute कर रहे हो वही यहाँ पे call हो रहा है. It's a recursion. So time complexity of computing time complexity of recursive algorithm is not that straightforward. You cannot do it using step count based approach. So you have to go for this recurrence relation. So that will give you this sort of relation. Then you have 4 different methods, right? One is called substitute method. Then you have iterative method. Then you have recursion tree method, and then you have master method. So these are the 4 methods. Any of that method can be applied, and then you can find out the solution to this. That will give you the time complexity. if you solve this equation, we are actually getting the time complexity as 2 raised to n. What is the time complexity for recursive approach of this algorithm? It's 2 raised to n, ego of 2 raised to n. Now something raised to n, it's not linear, it's not quadratical, it's actually an exponential. And something when you have an exponential time complexity is very dangerous, because when the value of n increases, this goes exponentially. So if your n is 2, 4, 5, 10, it's fine. But let's say if your n is 1 million, then this is not going to be give you the optimum result, or this algorithm is not efficient, because the time complexity is 2 raised to n. To be very precise, is actually 1.618 raised to n. We are not interested in why it is 1.618. What we are interested in is that whenever you are having a recursive algorithm, time complexity almost every time it goes into exponential form. That's why recursion should be always avoided. That's what every compiler says. And that's why most of the compiler internally converts your recursive function into the iterative version. So you write a function in Java, which is actually recursive, but the Java compiler will convert it into the iterative version. The compiler are built in such a way that automatically they will convert user's recursive function into the equivalent iterative version of the same, because for any recursive algorithm you always find the iterative version most of the time. So the point over here is that we are discussing the time complexity, we are discussing the approach. This is called a top down approach, because to compute the larger value top, you require to compute, or you are computing that larger value by using the smaller value. So on the top, you have some larger number. To compute that, you are actually now going for the bottom, towards bottom. That's why you require this smaller value. So this is called top-down approach. You are starting from the highest point, and then to compute the result of that, you go in the bottom direction. So that's why it is top-down. Majority of the time, top-down approach are always going to be expensive. So divide and conquer, sorry, the dynamic programming takes the another approach, or it takes the another route. That is called bottom up approach. The approach is not new. You might sound that okay, these are the two different words, but actually you are already using it, you are already habitual to it. What do we mean by bottom up approach? Iterative version are bottom up. So again, if I see this algorithm. Okay, so what is this? It's again Fibonacci of n. The same algorithm, Fibonacci of n. But here we are using iterative approach. So how do we compute in iterative approach? Basically, we require three variables, f1, f2 and f3. We'll initialize f1 with 0, f2 with 1, and then we'll compute f3 is equal to f1 plus f2, and then we'll change the value of f1 and f2. This is how we use, or this is how we write the algorithm for Fibonacci. So it's the same thing written over here. You have three variables, f1, f2 and f. If your value of n is less than 2, again it's a base condition, so you don't require to run any loop. You have to simply return the value of n. So if I am passing Fibonacci of 0 to this, it will simply return 0. If I pass Fibonacci of 1, it will return 1. So it is a straightforward thing. Otherwise, if it is greater than 1, then you are doing what? Remember what is the third Fibonacci number? Third number. 0, 1, 1. What is second? 1. Right? So basically f1 and f2 is equal to 1, because we are interested in computing last two. What are the last two for computing 2? It is 1 and 1. So we are initializing with that. Then we are running this loop. And then we are doing what? F is equal to F1 plus F2. Then we are changing the value of F1 and F2 by this. We'll keep on repeating this till your I is less than N. Once it becomes N, then your result will be in F that you are returned. Right? So this is very simple, straightforward. You have written in first year, you have written in second year as well, this algorithm. This is bottom-up approach. Let's try to understand how. How you are starting over here? You are interested in computing what? And from where you are starting? From the first. You are starting from the base point. That what is the value of, let's say, Fibonacci of 2. So you are interested in computing actually Fibonacci of 100. But you are starting from computing Fibonacci of 2. Because here you are computing Fibonacci of 2. Then you are computing Fibonacci of 3, 4, 5, 6, like you will go till 100. So basically to compute Fibonacci of 100, you are starting from the bottom value and then you are building a solution and you are going towards in the top direction. That's why it is called bottom up approach. What is the time complexity of this approach? See, this is 1, this is 1, this is 1. Again, this is 1, 1. This is n minus 2 or n minus 1, whatever you can say. But ultimately, time complexity is n and overall time complexity is big O of n. So here, we are getting big O of n. Here, we are getting big O of 2 raised to n. So which one is better algorithm? Big O of n. And that's why bottom-up approach is always going to be an efficient one compared to the top-down approach. So I hope you understood the approaches and what we are supposed to discuss now. So now let us go through this. Basically, dynamic programming is an approach which takes the bottom-up route to solve anything. So, okay. So basically, general method is you will first build a recurrence relation between a solution to a larger instance to solution of some smaller instances. See, whenever you are going for either top-down approach or bottom-up approach, you must first understand what is the relation. You must understand that Fibonacci of n is actually Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2. You must understand that Fibonacci of, factorial of n is actually n into factorial of n minus 1. So that is called relations. If you want to find out the merge sort, then you have to first find out the solution to the left part and solution to the right part. So in any of these sort of approaches, you first have to establish the relationship between a problem and its sub-problem via recurrence relation. Then you will solve the smaller instance first because it's a bottom-up approach. Then you will preserve that solution in the some sort of record or some sort of memory, whatever you can use the word. And then you will extract the solution to the next instance from that table. Let us try to understand this fourth step by this. What we have done, we have actually started with the small thing and then we have preserved it in a variable which are called f1 and f2. So here we are actually preserving the previous values. Sometimes you can store it in a single variable, sometimes you require extra table as well. But here ultimately the point is we need to solve, in order to solve the next instance, you need to preserve the solution of the previous instances. So here we are actually preserving that so that next time whenever we require to compute f, we have that previous values available in f1 and f2. So that is what it means. So solve smaller instance once, then record solutions in a table, and then extract solution to the initial instance from that table. So in order to solve the next instance, you will basically use that table or variable or memory where you have actually stored the previous values. Okay, it is similar to divide and conquer approach, but it provides in divide and conquer you always have to divide the method of division is fixed. Here that is not fixed. Here your problem will be divided into various part. It is opposite to greedy approach because in greedy we are not exploring all the options. We are actually looking at only the current scenario. So that's why it is said that it is opposite to the greedy approach. But it is dangerous as well because when you are exploring all the options, you should make sure that you are not going into the brute force. Brute force means trying all the possibilities. So when you are doing for this kind of an approach, dynamic programming approach, you should be uh, clear about that the approach should not, even though it should explore all the options, but it doesn't mean that you need to go into the each and every point. Otherwise, it will become a brute force. Brute force is again dangerous approach. Brute force means trying all the possibilities. The classical example is that let's say you want to crack a password of 6 digit, numeric digit. Then there are 6 digits, so you explore every possible combination. That is called brute force. So 1111112 So whatever comes in between these two numbers, you try everything. That is called brute force approach. So any approach should not be similar to brute force approach. This has actually a potential to go into that particular domain, but if you write it carefully, then you will not go into that. So that is what it means. So I think this is we have discussed. Top-down approach is quite simple because if you see this algorithm, writing the algorithm for Fibonacci recursion is very simple. You have to simply find out the equation and the base condition. That's it. But the time complexity is the concern. That is what we have discussed. So that's why often compiler implements recursion using table of choices. So almost every compiler nowadays it uses another approach for solving the recursion. Okay. Again, we are not into going to detail of it. But the point is that whenever you are going for the top-down approach, it is costly operation. Why it is costly? Let us try to understand by this graph. Let's say you are making a call for 6. What this 6 call will be doing? It will make a call to 5 and 4. Again, that 5 will make a call to 4 and 3. This 4 will make a call to 3 and 2. 3 will make a call to 2 and 1. 1 will not make further call because of this base condition. Right? So one value will not make a further call because of this base condition. So it will simply return end. Right? So now it's not going to make. That's why it is not making further call. Now if we explore all this, so like this, the entire problem will be solved. Now tell me how many times we are calculating Fibonacci of 3. 1, 2, 3. How many times we are calculating Fibonacci of 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As an intelligent machine, you should never recalculate the same thing. You should always have an approach which will not do the repetition of the same thing. Because you already know that Fibonacci of 3 is 2. So you must have an approach which will actually preserve that value, and that will be used for computing the next time whenever you have been asked to compute the Fibonacci of 3. So the time complexity or the higher time complexity or exponential time complexity is purely due to recalculation. You get it? That's why it should be avoided. So performance degradation is due to recalculation only. Certain quantities are recalculated far many times, like Fibonacci of 3, and Remember, we are just making call for Fibonacci of 6. Just make it Fibonacci of 100. Then see how many times we are recalculating the same values again and again. So you have to avoid that calculation. Ideally, this should be the ideal case, that you should always calculate each value once only, and then you should preserve it. Okay. So that's why we require this bottom up approach. I'm not going to, yes. Sometimes people used to, because of the simplicity of top down approach, sometimes we always intended to use that approach only. But at the same time, we also require the performance as well. So what people used to do, they used to go for memoization. Memoization means that you will actually preserve the values of previous outcomes into some storage. Let me show you that example. Okay. See this. You have again there's another function we have written, or algorithm, that is Fibonacci recursion with memoization. Now we are passing two variables instead of one, a solution and end. Solution is basically a table or array, you can say, where actually I have kept my previous calculations. I'm preserving that. So how we do that? First, obviously, if your n value is less than 2, then you are returning that Fibonacci is equal to n. Finally, you are returning that Fibonacci only. So here we are not writing return n, here we are assigning it to some variable, and that variable is always returned once. Okay, so that is the difference. Else, before recalculating the things, remember Fibonacci of n requires Fibonacci of n minus 1 and Fibonacci of n minus 2. But before recalculating it, see, this is recalculation, or this is calculation, right? Before making a call, what you are checking is n minus 1 is a member of solution. That means it is checking whether you have already computed the value for n minus 1. If that is false, that means it is not a member. That means you don't have an outcome or output of n minus 1. Then only you are making a call. So if that is equal to false, then you are making a call. Otherwise, what you are doing? Get member, let's say there is some function which is returned. Which member? Solution n minus 1. So if I have this solution as an array, then I will simply say f1 is equal to solution of n minus 1. Getting this? Same thing will be repeated for n minus 2. Before I calculate using recursive call, I will first check whether the value is already available or not in my solution table. So when I go for this sort of approach, then this is always going to improve my performance, because now I am not making a recursive call for every time. We have this sort of if condition over here. Then only if that is false, then only we are making a call. So this is how it looks like. You are making a call to 6 and 5. Sorry, 6. 5 will make a call to 5. 6 will make a call to 5 and 4. Now, if you remember, again, let me go to that algorithm. Okay. You are making a call to what? 6. It will check 6 is less than 2. No. It goes into the else part. Then it will make a call 5. What will happen? Now it will not make another call to 4. First it will try to solve this. So again it goes into this. If you see the execution path, it starts with this point, goes here, here, here. Then again goes back for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then returns. So once it returns 1 over here, then is go to the parent of this, and then it will tries to compute seconds. So then it comes for 0. In a graph, what I mean to say is that whenever you are making a call, 6 will make a call to 5, 5 will make a call to 4. If I construct the tree, this is how it's going to be constructed. 6 will make a call to 5, 5 will make a call to 4, 3, 2, 1. Then from here it returns something. So then it goes back to 2. Then it makes another call to 0. From here it returns. From here it returns. Then it makes another call to 1. શું ચાલે છે discussion? So basically now for making a further call to 1, it will use this table and retrieve the value from 1 from the table only. So again it goes back here. This is how it constructs the outcome, right? So this is bottom up approach, top down approach only, but that is using memoization. Memoization means that you are using some sort of storage for preserving the previous values. That will actually improve the overall performance, because you can see over here you are not actually recalculating anything. You are only making a call one time only, so that will obviously going to improve the performance. Is that clear? No, it will be recursive only. This is recursion only. Let me. This is recursion. But it is written in controlled manner. See, recursion I'm not saying that that's why I told you that it's not always exponential. It all depends on how you write the recursion, how you are making a call to and here we are not making a call every time. So here recurrence equation will not be the same, like Tn is equal to Tn minus 1 plus Tn minus 2. And we are not going to, because it's not that simple and straightforward. But what we can understand easily is that we are not making call for, or there is no repetition, there is no duplication of the call. And that's why time complexity is always going to be better than what we have in that exponential case. It will be a linear only, because for n, we are doing it n times. Not like for 6, we are not calculating Fibonacci of 6 times. Then it becomes, or then it goes into that exponential form. Here it will not be an exponential. Here the time complexity will be in the order of n only, because we are not going to. Yes, any other doubt? Yes, online students. Any doubt till this point? In bottom-up approach is code compiled from bottom to up by compiling. See, in case of any approach, whether it's a bottom-up approach or top-down approach, the compilation are always going to be starting from the first line and goes towards your execution. So if you have a for loop, then it actually executes it will perform the iteration only. So compilation procedure is different, the approach is different. So there is actually no correlation between how the compilation is done and how or what is the approach. So I don't think there is any correlation between approach and method of compilation. Yes. Yeah, so now we have actually 3 approaches. Okay, let me answer this first. The question is then how it is different from top down. See, compilation is another thing and execution is another. Your time complexity is actually depends on the execution, not on the compilation. And because you are recalculating the same thing in top-down approach, at the time of execution, it will take more time. Otherwise, compilation time has nothing to do with the time complexity. So whenever we are computing the time complexity, we are computing the execution time complexity. Remember, there are two components. One is a constant and another is a variable. Constant is your compilation time. We are not worried about it because in any way it's going to take that time. What we can optimize is the other part, that is a variable part. And that we are actually optimizing when we are going for the bottom-up approach. So now we have three approaches. One is a bottom-up approach, second is top-down approach, and third is top-down approach with memoization. Obviously, the base out of it is bottom-up approach because in that case, you are getting the optimum time complexity. Second comes the top-down with memoization because the time is fine, but you have additional space requirement. Remember, we are using some table, some memory for storing or preserving the previous values. So you have that time is improved, but the space complexity is increased. So that's why it comes on the second part. And third is top-down approach, where actually time is much higher than what it was. Remember, this is for Fibonacci. It may not be same for every recursive algorithm, but in majority case, it's going to be the same case, right? Top-down is always going to be time-consuming. Top-down with memoization will be time complexity will be better, but the space complexity will increase. But we are not always worried about the space complexity. So that's why top-down approach with memoization is not considered to be the not good approach. It always considered as good as the bottom-up approach. Because in some cases, you always require recursion only. It's not always easy to convert every iterative program into the recursion one. You get it? So that's why sometimes you require a power of or simplicity of recursion with the performance of bottom up. Then you should go for top-down approach with memoization. In ideal case, you should always go for bottom-up approach, and that's what dynamic programming is doing, right? So with this, I think I will stop. In the next class, we will be discussing this principle and first problem statement in dynamic programming.